Hi,
Man.
how are ya?
Oh, good. Hanging in there. Your hair looks cute today.
I actually went to bed with my hair wet because I showered last night, and I woke up and it kind of just looked like this, and I'm like, I'm gonna go with it today.
That's not fair.
Go with
I would
it.
look like I stuck my finger in an electric socket.
Hey, Julian, what's going on?
Nothing much. How y'all doing today?
Good. I love all your real gear.
Thank you.
I
I'm
love
geared
it.
up, man.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, Gypsy. Do we get to see your face today by any chance?
Yeah, I am trying to get out the door to get to the office. So yeah, here in just like 5 minutes.
Okay. We have two Rich's note takers in here. That's too funny. It's too funny. How are we all doing today? Hey, Tina. Hey, James. Autumn. I love it. Hi. All right. Um, I made a boo-boo and I'm doing all this stuff in Work Vivo right now to get all of these different pages and things set up and events, but I did not set up our collaboration station mastermind as an event yet. And it usually like in Work Vivo. So it would like send out a notification that there's this event, but if people aren't saving it to their calendar, they may have forgotten that our mastermind is today. So after this call, I will make sure I jump on Work Vivo and set this up as a reoccurring event in Work Vivo for every Tuesday. But it's good to have all your faces on here. Um, Kate, I'm going to make you the host so you can admit people to the chat. And let's go ahead and get started with Tori. Tell us about what's going on in the market this week.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me again. I think I've met most of you so far on here, but I'm Tori. I'm with Union Home Mortgage. I'm a lender. I've been be 10 years in July, which is insane. Um, so yeah, I just kind of give you a quick market update. So rates, we had a slight uptick this week, but I mean, like we're still just staying in those high sixes. So they're staying pretty steady. So I'd rather that than big swings either way. So I mean, I'd love a big swing down, but if we see the big swings, that's when customers get a little, so I'd rather stay steady for a little while. Um, some industry news we're seeing, there was a 15% increase in listings in April, which was pretty cool. We all know we are short on inventory, so I'm sure you guys have been seeing that. I think that's great news for everybody. I think this is a really cool stat that I was reading is that Equifax had predicted that there'd be a 13% drop in mortgage credit inquiries. And there was actually only a 9%, which I know that doesn't seem like much, but that's huge in our world. And it shows that even with these higher rates, mortgage applications are still staying pretty darn strong. So we're really happy with that. And just some engaging insight to get you guys, hopefully some more business. So this is something I do. So I usually tell you guys about a loan program or something. So I'm switching it up a little this week and just telling you a little bit about how I prospect and something that might help you. Because if I do not keep a calendar and a schedule, I am a crazy person. So for me, I do theme days. So every day is a new theme day as far as calls I'm going to make. So mine are a little different, but I do have a set of like agent ones that I always share with my agents. So like on Mondays, doing your top 50, this is the same for me. So your top 50 VIPs, whether that be referral sources or I don't really do, I do past clients a separate day, but referral sources, anybody in the community, other agents you may be, recruiting or networking with, and have your list ready for every day. And so every Monday, call 12 of those people and just keep your lists. Tuesdays, I do this too. These are my status calls. If you've worked with me, every Tuesday I'm going to call you. You'll know it's Tuesday. I call buyers, listing agents, and buyers agents for all things in process. I think you should be doing the same. Wednesdays, hot leads or old leads, anybody that you haven't touched base with. So for me, it's pre-approved clients. For you guys, I don't know what you call them, but people out there looking. Thursdays, that's when I think past clients are great. I do the same thing. I call my past clients. I usually do about 10 every Thursday, check in, see how they're doing. For me, it's refinances or, if I can get you guys a listing lead if they're looking to list, and asking for referrals, obviously. And then Friday, for agents, I suggest cold calling, and I don't necessarily mean, picking up the phone and doing cold calling, but calling for new business. So whether that be, are you calling your lender and asking if they have any leads? Are you reaching out to your referral network, seeing if they have any leads? Doing a triangle for trust, who's somebody that you know that I should know. So yeah, just some theme days. I like having those in my calendar. I stick to those religiously, and that just helps me keep my prospecting as number one, even if the week gets crazy with other things. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Anything else, Nicole, that you have questions on or anything?
No, I love it. I like that you switched it up this week. We did talk a little bit about, the market, what's going on in the market, but we just talked about some coaching stuff too. I love it. And just so you guys know, Tori is a coach for lenders as well. So she has, how many coaching clients do you have?
Well, I usually do between 8 and 10 every 6 months. We call them semesters, but every
Okay.
6 months I get 8 to 10 new coaching clients. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, she's not only helping people with their loans and closing some houses, but she's also coaching other newbie lenders that are trying to grow their businesses into that as well. So I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So today, it's open forum. So this month, April, there are 5 Thursdays in the month instead of four. And so I have a theme for every week of the month. We have best practices, all things marketing, business operations. And the last week is supposed to be kind of an open forum. But since we have two last weeks in April, we're going to do 2 weeks of open forum. So I did want to open it up. It can be real specific. It can be real, like the company real specific, or it can be anything that you guys want to talk about, but I wanted to open up the floor and see if there's anything that anybody here wanted to bring up or talk about before I jumped into some prompting stuff. So, anybody got anything?
I want to remind everybody that tomorrow I'm doing the attraction the real way at 10 o'clock from 10 until 12. Um, I hope it's helpful for people. We've got 13 people signed up for it. I am going to
Uh-oh, we lost her. Oh no, Tina, we lost you. If you can hear us, we lost you. I originally thought that Tina's class was going to be in person, but it looks like it's virtual and you can join in virtually. It's via Zoom. And she's basically going to review all of the things that she learned straight from Sharon and some of the other top recruiters in the company on a trip she did down to Texas. It was like a private mastermind trip, all of that. And she's going to take all of the material and data and then compress it into a 2 hour fast track thing. So if Tina gets unfrozen here, she can jump back in and talk to us about it. But yes, that's tomorrow. And if you haven't seen it in the Work Vivo feed, Tina did post the sign up link for that Zoom in Work Vivo feed. So it's there. Cool. There she is. She's back in. There you are, Tina. I just caveated what you said and talked about.
Days an adventure.
Right. So tomorrow, Zoom, 10
Thank
to
you.
12, right?
And yep. Just quickly sign up on that link so I can get you the Zoom.
Okay.
Thanks.
Tina, why don't you drop the link in the chat here for us too, so that if anybody wants to sign up for it, we can do that here too.
I'll do it right now.
Perfect. Cool. All right. What else do we want to talk about, guys? What's on your mind? What's a concern? What's a situation that you had? Let's talk about some stuff. Julian, how long have you had your license? Uh-oh, he can't hear me. Maybe he's on the phone. Autumn, how's it going for you? Good? Are you busy
Good.
busy for
Yeah,
the
picking up, just lack of inventory for buyers. But that other than that, it's picking up. I am getting more listings, so hopefully that's a sign of good things.
Good. What are we doing right now? Who has something that they're doing that's interesting to pick up more listings in this low inventory market? Rich, I know you're doing something. Tina, I know the Cames are doing something. Talk to me. Talk to me.
We're doing a ton of hybrid farming right now. We're kind of going all in on neighborhoods and trying to be that valuable resource that allows for us to be that point of contact. So home value requests, we're giving them to neighbors now. We're not even asking if they want one. We're just giving them to them. as a courtesy for a spring home valuation. So there's 611 that we're doing that for. Um,
All through mail?
yeah, well, no, not necessarily through mail. So, like, I live in this neighborhood, so a lot of it is, I'm putting them to, like, as I see people, I'm like, hey, I'm putting this together. Do you want it? And then I'm dropping it off to them. But that gives me that couple different touches. But then we're doing a direct mail campaign for these 611. With and the front of it is it's black and it's got a QR code and it says 2025 home valuation. They scan it and then it gives me their address and then I will then hit it up, email it to them, add them to Follow Up Boss into all of that. I mean, listen, we're trying to be everything to everybody right now. No stone unturned.
I love it. Okay. Farming can be expensive. So I'm wondering if and it's one of those things where you have to, like, even in hybrid farming, you still have to be very specific with it. So, like, something that I've talked about with my team before and something that I did in my neighborhood is not only do you do mailers in your neighborhood, but then you also get on to like, what's the neighborhood app called? Nextdoor. You get on Nextdoor, you get on Nextdoor, and then you also have like Facebook groups. Like my neighborhood has like a St. Ives Facebook group. So I get on that. So you do the farming, you do those things, but you also need to get in front of people in your neighborhood too. And so, like every year, my neighborhood has a garage sale weekend. And so the HOA talks about it, a whole neighborhood, anybody that wants to participate in garage sales can do it during the specific week. So you can actually get corrugated signs made that says garage sale on it and hand them out to people that are going to be doing the garage sale, but put sponsored by and your information and a QR code on there to stock. So people are seeing it in person as they're driving through the neighborhood. They're seeing it online and they're getting mailers. So you're doing like I love the triangle, the triangle touch point of multiple different ways to reach out to people. Um,
So
also,
one of the things to piggyback on that, we do that
yeah.
every year. We buy all the signs, we put them out, and there's I don't know how many streets there are, but every single one it says open house with an arrow, and then Ganem Group and the real logo there now at least, right?
Mhm.
It you know it we the there are inexpensive ways to do it, especially if you can plug into that Facebook group and that Facebook community. One of the things that we're going to do in June, we're partnering with a videographer and we're going to do community highlights. And we're going to ask members of the community to talk about what they love about living in the neighborhood or their favorite restaurant or all of those things. And we're going to kind of use that as the highlight reel to being that go-to resource for why you want to live here. Um, there are definitely inexpensive ways partnering with mortgage companies, title companies to do stuff, but also like the window washer guys, give them a coupon, get them involved on the coupon, have them pay for the postage.
Yep. I
Right?
mean,
Like,
that's a really
there's
good idea.
ways to do it very ineffective and expensively and still be impactful.
You know what I like about the video? You just gave me a great idea. So like YouTube, who's on YouTube? Does anybody do YouTube videos and stuff on here? Yeah. So my husband, Dan, who is a licensed agent, but he does not really practicing anymore, made a YouTube video like 5 years ago about how to work Section 8 properties in Akron and how to be an investor and work with Section 8 properties and like, stuff like that. And to this day, we still get leads as a team from people who watch that video as an investor from outside of the area. So you just gave me an idea, Rich, YouTube is huge. And a lot of people, when they're searching or relocating or moving, they're going to try to do a Google search or search the neighborhood that they're living in. So why not do a highlight reel, like you said, of all of your neighborhoods in your area? Like for me, I would do like a welcome to St. Ives, North Canton, use all the keywords. Like my neighborhood does like this huge Halloween party where they have bouncy castles and they do like a block party every year. So getting video of that, things like that, and then do it for each neighborhood specific. And to be honest with you, you can even reuse some footage if it's in the same area. So, like if you do drone footage of, let's say you're in Highland Square in Akron, and then you're right next door, in North Hill, but you're highlighting parts of Akron, you can highlight the neighborhood in the first 20 seconds, but then do highlights of Akron for the rest of it and kind of reuse that footage and get it up on YouTube. And that's a great way to get leads. from people.
Well, and you're getting the community buy-in on it too, right? Like when
Right.
like
They're
if
going to
the
share it.
like if you're in one of our videos, we're gonna post it, we're gonna tag you or collaborate with you. You're
Mhm.
going to then share it, and now organically, right? Like we're many arms make light work. It now spreads to to a community that otherwise might not know who you are.
So how much is a videographer to do this? Because there's a lot of single agents on these calls, and this is being recorded. So there's a lot of people that are going to rewatch this collaboration station, and it's not always in everyone's budget to hire a videographer to go do all these videos all the time, right? So is there an inexpensive or like hiring one for a whole day type of thing for just the raw footage? Or how does that work, Rich?
So we went that route and it was expensive, especially because then you have to figure out like all this content and all the things and they're slow and they I don't have like okay, super high D, right? Zero analytic. I have no
No,
vision. Like
not
I just
you, Rich.
I
Not
know
you.
I know. So it's super shocking, right? I have this vision, I have zero idea how to execute. So what I did after a failed attempt at an intern and a videographer, I've gone both routes, is I went to Best Buy and I bought the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 Creator Kit. It is it's this little camera that you can use to shoot all sorts of different content. It goes horizontal and vertical, so you can do it as a reel. You can do it. Um, so you got this little camera, right? It's got a gimbal built into it right here. It keeps turning because it wants to look at me. But this is a camera. It does all the things, and this was 800 bucks. Okay, I have my cousin hold the damn thing. I then have a lapel mic that comes with the creator kit, so it picks up the audio. I film what I want. It shoots in 4K, and then I go to Upwork and I bid it out. This is what I want. This is the deadline. This is what I want it to look like. I upload it all through a Google Drive file to them, and then by the deadline, I get it back. They move fast and they're super inexpensive in comparison
So
to
super
paying.
inexpensive. So talk to me about that. What is give me a estimate here.
I've done videos for $5 a piece. I've done reels for $5 a reel for just like a basic reel, and then I've paid a couple $100 for a longer, for a longer piece of content. Your average videographer here that's going to shoot and edit, for
Thousands.
every minute that they edit, it's about an hour's worth of work for them. So if you're talking about a 5 minute video, your average videographer is going to be it's going to take them about 5 hours of editing. Now, cost of living here is substantially higher than in other places, right? So if you're going to spend 5 hours editing a 5 minute video, here that's probably 300 or 400 bucks. If you can get it done for
Maybe.
$50,
Right.
maybe it's probably more. Like the video that I had shot when I came to Reel, it was like 2 minutes. It cost me 800 bucks.
Okay.
You get what you
Well,
pay for, though.
so I'm gonna throw this out there too, is I have some people that have been working for me for 3 years. This is total shameless plug, don't even care. I have a full-time video editor who is amazeballs, really good at video editing. He is $6 an hour. I have a social media graphics designer VA who is $5 an hour. And then I have like a web developer, techie, CRM manager type of VA who is $7 an hour. And I'm actually hiring someone in person. So all three of them, I'm trying to find them new roles because I'm going to be letting them go, but I don't want to let them go until they have a new job. So if you know anybody that's looking for a VA, I have those three VAs available. Putting that out there. Um, Rich,
And that,
can you put the link to the camera that you bought in the chat here and then the
yeah,
platform that you use for videos that you upload your data and they make what you want? Can you upload that in here too in the
for
chat?
sure, for sure. So going to your point on the VA. Like you might VAs were my first hire. I have two of them. One can do basic video editing, not very advanced like yours. Like your VA is phenomenal
Yes, I know.
in comparison
I know.
to the level that we operate on. But something as simple as like CapCut, like the pro version of CapCut is
Yeah.
enough to do a high quality video. Other videographers are going to use Premiere and all sorts of things, right? Uh, but listen, like your VA is incredible, and for $7 an hour, 40 hours a week, I don't have a calculator and I can't do math because it's not 3%. But you're probably under $1,000 a month,
Yes.
right? So for under $1,000 a month to have a video editor to do all of that stuff for you and then post it, come on, like it's a no-brainer if you have $1,000 in the
Well, do you
budget.
want to hire him? Because I sent you the stuff.
I know, listen, I'm trying to find the money. And I'm trying.
Tina, do you know anybody that might be interested in hiring one of these guys?
I'm going to give you a call. I've got a marketing company that does a lot of my stuff, and I've got a videographer who does some of my stuff, but they're not inexpensive, right? And so, yeah, let's touch base and see what you've got. Let's maybe tomorrow afternoon after
Sure.
I'm done with the
Sounds good
training.
to me. Yep. And if, throw it out there if you know any agents that are looking for a VA. Um, my social media graphics designer can also do admin work as well. So she's like an admin and she does beautiful graphic work. So she's really good with Canva. And then my CRM manager is great for behind the scenes stuff. So he can manage a CRM, set up campaigns, all of that stuff. He can build out apps, software, tech, build websites. Really, really good techie guy. So
Do you have any of your, not to like take this in a different direction, but do you have any of your VAs that do transaction coordination stuff that manage your deals?
I do, and I'm not getting rid of her. She's staying on the team.
But
And
you
she's
do you
great.
do have somebody that full-fledged is
Yeah. Yep.
And
But if any of you guys are looking for a transaction coordinator, Becca Eicher does, she's a real agent and she does full-time transaction coordination and she's phenomenal. So keep that in mind.
yeah, in regards to VAs for everybody out there who's hasn't ever used one before, listen, there's pros and cons
Hmm.
to VAs. Like if you find a good one, I've got sometimes internet issues where they can't get on meetings or things can't get done because they've got hurricanes and wet. They've got all kinds of issues as well. But they are inexpensive. And sometimes the difference of like anything else in the game of life, you get what you pay for. One of my coaches a long time ago told me the difference between a good assistant and a great assistant is $2 or $3 an hour.
Right.
It's the same way with VAs. I am curious how you guys hire your VAs. I found one VA through an Indeed ad, I believe, and then she turned me on to our current VA, who does a great job. But they're not always fabulous.
No, they aren't. And I mean,
But it's
sorry, go ahead, Tina.
nope, keep going. If you found, how do you find yours?
That's what I was going to say is I signed up with Sphere Rocket about 3, 4 years ago, actually about 4 years ago now. And I was with them for about a year and I hired all of my VAs through Sphere Rocket. The problem is they don't do individual hires anymore. You have to sign up for a membership with them. So I actually left Sphere Rocket, but I kept my VAs and they have all been with me for at least 3 years, all of them. And they are fantastic and I can vouch for all of them. And it took us a few hire and fire cycles to find the right ones, which we did. So, I mean, you can try Sphere Rocket, but honestly, another great way of finding a VA is, like you said, asking your current VAs or other people's VAs for a recommendation because I guarantee you they know someone looking for a job too. And that's a great way to get in touch with people is that way. So, but you're right. It's only a couple dollars difference. Mine have been with me for so long and I'm very like OCD anal, kind of like Tori, and I train them all very, very, very well. And I do things like if you have VAs, do you use Screenshot Monitor, Tina?
No, I don't use Screenshot Monitor to find out what they're doing every day.
Well, kind of. It's basically it lets I don't really check in it as often as I should, but they think I am. And so it keeps them on their toes. It records their screen. It takes random screenshots throughout the day. It tells me on a up to 100% rating how active they are, you know? And so like
Yeah,
my average is like 75% activity rating, and that's what you
yeah.
want.
There's a different app that we use, a different program we use. The problem is sometimes they use two different computers, and that's where I get into trouble with it.
Yeah, but I
Um,
think they know how to get around.
I mean, so I've had my VAs now for 18 months each. And prior to them, I went through 7
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I
it's a
to
use
have
things
different
two
like
to
system.
have
Screenshot
two step.
Monitor to keep track of them, and then I use Slack for their time cards. They log in and log out every day through Slack, and I keep track of their time cards there. We used to use Asana for like team management and stuff like that, but now that we're all in Google, we use like Google Drive, Google Tasks, and stuff like that. But I mean, there's good ways to do it. Um, and I feel like where people fail with VAs is not necessarily the VA that's failing, it's you knowing how to manage a VA. That's where people fail. And it is a hurdle. You do have to learn how to manage a VA, and you can't just let it go or they will go too. So you have to kind of stay on them. But all right, well, let's jump into something else then. So Matt Mitchell. What's going on, Matt? How's life for you? Your camera's not following you around your office right now, so how's business?
Actually, it's not my office. It's the facility where we host our meetings every week. So I always have to stick around here to be able to fit this into the schedule.
Oh,
So I'm the president of the local realty association here. So I know the Columbus market's a little bit unique with that. Every suburb has their own little realty association. So,
really?
but yeah, I didn't know it was a model unique to Central Ohio until I became president of one of them. I thought like this is just the way it works everywhere. But
Right.
yes, it's a kind of a unique thing to Central Ohio. Actually, I'm really enjoying all of this talk about VAs because I've been entertaining the idea of possibly hiring a VA or ISA or something, and I don't really know where to start. I don't know that this conversation has necessarily cleared anything up for me in terms of what direction I'm personally going to go, but it identifies, it certainly identifies questions that I can ask and maybe some resources I can tap into as far as people here at Real that are actually doing it. So I do have a little bit different question, and just in terms of I don't want to like take things in a completely different direction, but I guess I'm going to anyway. Um, I was helping another agent, newer agent, with their listing, and they were managing multiple offers, and they had a few with escalation clauses. And I don't know, I've not really, I've had offers with escalation clauses, but I've never actually been in that situation where you're trying to like weed through them and compare them and actually, where they're actually triggered. Um, but I was trying to get some clarification on how they uh, how they work when, for example, you have two escalation clauses um, that are similar high numbers. Do they? I don't know how to ask the question exactly. So, do they or do they not max each other out, or do you actually need a third offer that is at a certain point? Because I think there was some miscommunication there between the two agents, and I was just trying to get some clarification on that. So for example, say you have two escalation clauses, and one maxes out at 300, and the other one maxes out at 290. Like, does that mean that the 300 is a 290 offer, or am I making sense in the question that I'm asking?
Tina, I can tell you're like dying to answer this question. Go for it.
So a couple things with escalation clauses. Number one, you can use the one escalation clause to push the other.
That's what I
Okay,
thought. Okay, thank you.
you can. And keep in mind, I mean, we do use escalation clauses. We do more of our business as listing side than buyer side, but only about 45%. the hard part with an escalation clause is the buyers put all their cards on the table, right?
Hmm.
And so you don't have to use the escalation clause in the purpose in which it was intended. I mean, we prefer to use it that way, but you can simply have your seller can simply counter and say you were going to pay me 340, 340 it is. If you want it for 340, you can have it. Now, that's not a practice we'd like to use on a consistent basis because it pisses off all the agents and the buyers and everybody else. But we have sellers who they don't take our guidance all the time. They see a 340, they want the 340. But what I'll tell you in regards to the escalation clauses, if you've got two, you've got a 300, you've got a 320, you've got a 325, can the 320, 325 off the 300 push the other ones? Yes, it can. What I'm going to tell you to tell your sellers is which is the better offer? Who's got
Hmm.
more money down? Who's got the right type of financing, conventional versus FHA versus VA. Like there's other factors. Who's got inspections? Who doesn't?
Hmm.
Who can bridge an appraisal gap? Who's putting a cap on the amount that they're going to ask for the inspections? There's so many details that go into it. Is which is the better offer? And let's counter to that one first or accept that one first.
Hmm.
Did that answer the question?
It absolutely does. And that's exactly the advice that I gave her. I said, look, I said, the first offer you received is the best offer. Uh, it doesn't have the absolute highest number in terms of the escalation clause. I mean, we're talking about like 5 or 10 grand. It wasn't a lot. And they were already way over what they were asking. But it was like, they are not asking for inspection. It's got better appraisal gap. You've already talked to the lender. You know that they're a good, it's a good legit offer. Like use the second offer, the second escalation offer to drive up the first one. And so I was looking for some validation that I was understanding it the way that I was understanding it correctly. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
I
Sounds
have
like you
a
did a good
friend.
job. Good job.
Um, my husband's an accountant, and he created me a wonderful fillable spreadsheet a couple years ago for multiple offers. Now, if you just have two or three, sometimes just outlining key details of each one, it'll be easier to do. But if you've got a listing and you've got 10, 12 offers on it, which does happen, and I am seeing it right now in this market, sometimes putting together that spreadsheet is a great way to take like a bird's eye view of
Hmm.
your offers. But I totally agree with Tina. Is a lot of times people focus on that number and all they see is the final number, but there's so much more to it that our clients need to understand and we need to be able to relay to them. So, well, here's a couple of tips that I do with escalations. My team has told me that this isn't working as well this year as it did last year, but it's still an option on the table. Is when you're writing an escalation clause, you're representing the buyer and the buyer's best interest. So I don't really care, Tina, if I piss off the seller's agent, if I'm doing what I need to do for my client, I'm going to do everything that I can ethically and legally to get them that house. So one of the things I do is when I write an escalation, I write no limit in it. And the reason why I do that is because the final price has to be agreed upon in writing, right? So like if I write the house is listed at 300 and I write an escalation with no limit and the final price is 350, they're going to come back to me and my people are going to have first right of refusal at that point. And they're going to come back and they're going to say, "Hey, the final price was 350. Here's the proof. You guys got it. Congratulations." And then I go, "Yay, thanks. Let me talk to my buyers and get it signed off." And then I take it back to my buyers. I'm like, "Hey, final price is 350. You want it?" You know what I mean? So it might piss off the seller a little bit and the listing agent if they decide not to take it at that point. But the good news is it's probably still fresh and they have all these other offers on the table that they can go to if they need to. But it gives my people that first right of refusal, which is what I want. I want my people to not put a limit on what they offered so that they get to say, yes, I want it or no, I don't. I also do increments of higher than 1,000. Everybody does $1,000 increment on a escalation. I do 2,000 because I think that that sets me apart from all the other escalation offers that are out there with $2,000 escalation versus one.
Winning offer was a $2,000 escalation, by the way, in
Right.
this case.
Yep. Yep. I mean,
I
it makes a
do
difference.
It ends in so like $2001. Seriously. Because
I
think
mean,
about it. Think
I,
about it, right? If a
yep.
dollar is what's going to win it, and you have more than
I've done 2,500 for that exact reason because most people use round numbers.
Mhm.
yeah.
So, yeah, to just put it up there just a little bit more, it's not going to make that big of a difference.
Well, and something else to consider when it comes to appraisal gap, and I like that Tina mentioned this, is how much appraisal gap is somebody offering, especially when you have escalation officers offers. Um, Appraisal gap only comes into play if it's needed, right? So, what are some other ways to put more money back in that seller's pocket without initiating the appraisal gap coverage? And so, some of the things that I like to do when I'm writing offers is offer to pay some of the seller's closing costs instead of offering $10,000 appraisal gap. Maybe you're offering $5,000 appraisal gap. And by the way, we're going to pay $5,000 towards the seller's closing costs because that $5,000 is guaranteed off the sellers, regardless of whether the appraisal gap comes into play or not. And a smart listing agent will see that and be able to explain it to their buyers. So you're really, putting the cherry on top of your offer by little things like that. They do make a difference to the seller's bottom line. So it's not only about price, it's about all the other things that the seller has to pay for, the time, the contingencies, all of those things. It all comes into play. And so making sure good listing agents are going to look at all of that. But if I were a listing agent and I got an offer like that out of 10 offers and one of them said, well, we're going to pay towards these closing costs and we're going to do an escalation with no limit. The couple of things that go through my mind is one, this buyer's agent is smart and they've got their clients, they know what they're doing, and I'm not going to run into big issues because they know what they're doing. And two, they really want this house and they're pulling out all the stops and it's more secure of an offer than just an appraisal gap of $1,000 or appraisal gap and $1,000 escalation. So just some fun tips and tricks to think about when you're in this market right now because it is pretty crazy. I don't know about up on the northeast on the east side, but down
It,
here in
it,
the Akron Canton area, it's hot.
we're not seeing 12, 16 offers on most properties. I guess we did about a month ago on a really hot property in really good shape. Typically, it's two or three is what we're seeing. If we have multiple offers, some houses are just sitting, right?
Yeah.
Um, but but I agree with what you said. And that spreadsheet that you have, I've got a spreadsheet as well. And when you've got multiple offers and with escalation clauses in there, it's a nice little at a glance. Nicole, we should probably, again, give me a day or two. I just got back in town last night, but send me a note and I'll get over to you our spreadsheet. And maybe between your spreadsheet and our spreadsheet, it's something that we can put out there so people can access. I love your new work Vivo.
Yay.
It's awesome as far as people having a nice little one-stop shop to get all their information is amazing. So thank you for that. But that's the kind of stuff that I think agents need. Like I got all these offers. What do I do? And if they can throw it into a spreadsheet, something that they look like a rock star in front of their clients.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I agree.
what percentage of our real agents business is listing side versus buying side? Do we have heavy one way or the other?
That's a good question. And I guess while I have you guys on here, I don't know if I have the exact percentage, but I can look at how many transactions we have versus how many listings we have right now. So we've got a lot. I don't know. I'll post it when I get the stats. I'm sure that I can look into it and find out. Um, but I don't know off the top of my head. But I do think we have a lot more buyer transactions than listings, like way more. We have a lot more buyers than sellers.
Okay.
Speaking
All
of
right.
buying transactions, I have a question.
Who said that?
It's Rich.
Oh,
Rich.
say it again.
So I'm running into this more and more with a couple brokerages here in Cleveland, and I'm not certain what everybody else is doing and how to like validate it. Um, there's a green and yellow company, and then there's also a red, white, and blue company that are making statements that the seller at the time of listing agreed to offer X, Y, and Z, and they are refusing to provide proof that that's what was agreed to at the time of listing. How do we validate that when we're writing an offer asking for A, B, and C?
You can't. Whatever is going on between a listing agent and the client is none of your business. And so there's no way to validate. You can't see their listing agreement. You can't see their compensation agreement. You're just going to, whatever the seller tells you or the listing agent tells you, take it with a grain of salt and write your offer and your commission the way you would normally write your offer and commission and negotiate it because there's nothing you really can do to prove one way or the other or to do anything about it.
And you are talking about commission, right, Rich?
I am without talking about it. Yes.
Expert. Yeah, okay. Well, we're in this confined area, in this group, we're allowed to talk about commission because there's only real agents here. We're all with the same brokerage.
And we're not
We
colluding.
can't do it with theirs.
We're just
No, we're
talking
just
about
having open conversation in regards
situational
to it.
awareness and training on how to take situations by situations right now. So this is all training. But and I hear you and I can tell that my
So,
answer kind of frustrated you, but go ahead, Tina.
well, Nicole's absolutely right, though. I mean, it doesn't matter. So I guess, Rich, the question is you're working with the buyer, you call the other agent, you let them know, hey, we just left your listing. My buyer's very interested. I have a couple of questions, or, do you have any other offers coming in? Do you have a highest and best due? Is the seller operating a compensation,
Yeah, no,
right? Is that what you're referring to?
I got all that. What I'm running into is these listing agents saying at listing the seller agreed to X, Y, and Z. When
And X, Y, and Z is so so you're talking about a number. They agreed to 12%. They agreed to pay you 12%. Is that what you're hearing? What, no, I mean,
yes,
yeah. Okay. And you have an agreement that says my buyer is going to pay me 20%. Okay. Write it. Write 20%.
I am. No, I am. I guess what and I know that I knew what Nicole was going to say, but I was hoping that there might be an option of, through some forum of figuring this out. Because like what I don't like for them to say this is what they've decided at listing when the NAR settlement said it's all negotiable through the purchase agreement, how in the literal F can they say that this is what they decided at listing when it's all negotiated through the contract?
Well,
I
a
guess
seller
that's
can
where
make
my
up their
clarity is.
mind. I mean, just because a seller says, I've decided I'm going to offer 2%. They are following the NAR rule because they are deciding what they want to offer on their end. They could say it's to be determined, it's 2%, it's 5%, it's 10%, it's 1%, but whatever it is, that's between the listing agent and the seller. It's not on the buy side or really up to you. So a listing agent can say, hey, they agreed to do 1% at the time of listing and that's all they're going to do. Okay, well take that, toss it out the window, write your offer the way you want to write your offer, negotiate it the best that you can because there's nothing that you can do between that on that side and what
Yeah.
the conversation they're having with their clients. You just do you and do the best that you can to get what you can. And if your offer's good, and you're a good agent, maybe they'll change their mind and say, all right, well, we'll offer 2% because this offer is really good. You know
No,
what I
for sure, for sure. I just wasn't sure. I just wasn't sure if there was a way of substantiating that, of going, this is what they agreed to at the time of listing. Like, okay, prove it,
No.
because this is the way the offer was written versus like the approach that we take, right? Like Nicole, if somebody on your team were to write an offer on our and were to ask the question, it was just write what you're requesting and we'll
mean?
negotiate it, right?
Mhm.
That's the approach that we take because we believe that it's in our client's best interest as sellers to not predetermine to not commit to a number until they know what all the numbers are, right?
Right. And just because that's the way that you do it and that's the way I do it, and I'm sure other people do it that way, it doesn't stop there still being a valid conversation. So I want to make that clear is as a listing
Agree.
agent, you can have a conversation with your seller and say, hey, do you want to offer buyer agent commission? If so, what do you want to offer? Are you looking for a recommendation of what I think you can have those conversations with your clients. And you can, if you have client permission, you can explain that to buyers agents as they're coming in. No, you can't write it in the MLS, But is it a conversation that you can have one-on-one with each individual client, knowing it's going to be different with every client? Yes, you can. You absolutely can.
Yeah, no, we're on the same page.
Cool.
And Rich, so you put into your listing agreement, typically zero buyer compensation offered, or do you
I
put in a
do
number?
to be determined, because I
Me
don't
too.
want to commit my sellers to paying more than they have to, right?
We do the
And,
same.
and the
We do
reason
the
so
same
the
thing. We leave it blank. And when
yeah
an
so
agent
the
calls and says, what are you offering? We say it's completely negotiable. If you, depending on the offer, write it into your offer and we'll present to the seller. The tricky part though, Rich, I think what you're saying is if you're in a multiple offer and the agent comes back and says, we're offering 2.5% and you've got a 3%, do you want to risk your buyer? Because unfortunately, different agents have different skill levels and we have to work within their skill level. So, I'm sure you're educating agents on the daily too, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
again, I think that's the buyer and seller conversation, right? Like we started so the reason we started doing it this way, probably similar to what you're seeing, is buyers agents, what they're requesting is often less than what my sellers would even be willing to pay. So like on average, our sellers are paying 2.44% over the year to date. They're averaging 2.44%. So like I can save my client by taking this approach, I can save my clients more money, right?
Yeah.
agreed.
And that's the conversation at the listing table. Like that's literally how we're winning listings when we're going up against other agents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have
Agreed.
the same conversation. We rewrite, we don't leave it blank. We write TBD in there
Uh-huh.
because we want to make sure something's written in, but we write TBD based on offer. And I think that's the right way to go. And honestly, I'm seeing buyer's agents getting paid better since all this happened. I'm seeing more 3% instead of 2.5s because they're writing it in that way and sellers are accepting it. So, you know, just something to keep in mind. So good conversation today, everybody. We're about wrapped up. We're about done.
Am
Everybody,
I understanding this correctly? You're saying you're writing TBD on the listing agreement
for the buyer's side commission, yes. What's
of the
being
buyer
offered
side
in the buyer.
commission on the listing agreement. Okay, I didn't know that that was an option, so that's good to know.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Matt, you got to make sure that your listing agreement covers dual agency
Hmm.
and unrepresented because we do make sure that we're covered in those situations,
Right,
right? An
right.
example, I might put 3%, you're paying us 3% for our listing side or 4% or three, whatever it is. And then on the other ones, we've got 5.5, 6%. But the clear buyer one, I leave it blank, but to be determined is fine.
Got
Yeah.
a question.
I don't,
Go for it, Julian.
All right, cool. Since Tina said something about dual agency, I'm working with my first dual agency right now with Real, and they're asking for a agency disclosure, but also a dual agency disclosure. Is there a difference in Columbus?
No, it's the same thing. It's just so you guys know, I have an appointment with the checklist lady on Thursday to update all of our checklists and reason. I'm going to make sure they're renamed more clear, everything. So I'm working on that. I'm making progress, you guys. We're going to have some good changes. But it's the
You're
same.
doing a great job.
Thank you. It's the same thing, Julian. It's going to say agency disclosure is required, but if you have a dual agency for now this week, just upload it to the dual agency spot and mark NA dual in the regular spot. Moving forward, it's going to be one slot for agency disclosure. I'm not going to add separate checklist items depending on the type of agency. It's going to be one spot for agency disclosure.
Perfect.
Cool. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining Collaboration Station. If you haven't gotten on Work Vivo yet, get on to Work Vivo because there's lots of cool resources. And the one thing I want to say, I'm going to make a big announcement about it. Sign up for the map. This is my baby that I've been working on, and let me tell you, it's so cool because you're putting your Venmo information in there. So no, we can't use Xiaomi. I looked into it because you can't pay for services, licensed agent services. However, as a broker, but as an agent, how many times have I said, "Can you go show a house for me?" And I've paid one of my agents before, and I've talked to leadership about this at Real. I think we all know that that is common practice. But it's between the agent and the agent. I'm not going to have a say in all of that. So our referral map not only shows where people are located on the map, but it has their contact information, their profile picture, and their Venmo. And whatever you work out with each other is the way that it's going to happen. So get on there, get your office in there. It'll be really good. So thank you, everybody. Bye all.